Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. And so I want to thank our newest Patreon.
Yes, we want to say a huge thank you to Miss Frida. She is our next Patreon who's helping keep us going. Thank you, Frida.
Thank you so much. And as many of you guys were probably doing, maybe not, on a Saturday, out and about doing your chores and running around like chickens with your head cut off. That's certainly what we were doing yesterday. And that's kind of like how every day is. You just change your hats. We're going to have a lot of hats in these times ahead, if you know what I mean. Everybody's going to have to be getting on your survivalist hat, your prepping hat, your spiritual hat, and just be ready for anything that comes and stay grounded and rooted. No big challenge, right?
I know, and my favorite hat is like a farmer hat. I want a farmer hat and a cow that I can go milk every day and some other fun stuff.
Yeah.
And a pony and a pony.
Absolutely. So as we know, we are closing in. Today is the 7th. That means tomorrow is the 8th. Wow. Yes. It's a big day. Unfortunately, they say that it's going to be cloudy in lots of areas. But never fear. Just send out your feelers and feel what energies are near. That's really the key. And somebody had said, "So are you guys going to use different glasses to look at it?" And I didn't even think about looking at it. With me, no. It's like I just want to get out there, get in a comfortable position, and just send my energy into what am I feeling, what am I sensing, as opposed to looking at it. And even back in 2017, that's what I did. I walked into the backyard in Sarasota and I just sensed it. I let the energies come down to me, and the energies were telling me, you think you're where you want to be and everything's all settled, but Nope. Lots to do, lots coming. This is just the beginning. And in some ways, it's the same thing with this eclipse. It's really just the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know. I thought about looking at it, so I went ahead and ordered those really funky, cool paper glasses, and I have them stuck in a drawer. I read that some people will be selling them for up to like $20 a pop in parking lots across the nation. People are going to make a killing on those if you didn't order them in advance. And yes, I too felt a lot of strangeness when that eclipse came. But I thought this time, since I will be closer, we're not right in totality, we're kind of away from it, but not super far away. I want to see, maybe I can see a little bit, would be fun with those little safety glasses, because I'm not one who stares right into the sun, like when the sun is like burning hot. I don't think that's a good idea. That's more for twilight. Sun gazing is more for a twilight type situation.
Yeah, absolutely. First thing in the morning and at night. Now, this is interesting because they're saying, good news, guys. Even if there are clouds, some of the clouds may dissipate when the sun is blocked off because of the cooling effect. And there's been a lot of things that have been hitting me about different prophecies, because I use the prophecies to trigger the subconscious and then meditate on it, and then often I'll get things that will come through. So there's some things that have been hitting me lately that may be related to this, that maybe the conscious mind hasn't been thinking about, which when you scroll a little bit farther down here, they start going into your near Earth asteroids, of which there's nothing on this list. So there's nothing that they see that we really have to worry about, because these LDs are lunar distance. So the distance of the moon away from the Earth, 1.9. This one on the first was one of the closest lunar distance, but still that's not really an Earth grazer or anything like that. If you look at some of the prophecies, there is definitely there's things there that can make you think that this comet, if this is that comet, could be bringing some things into our path. And again, if it's a ship, it could also be bringing things into our path for us to have impact us. And, it just feels, again, like we're still in the Younger Dryas period in so many ways. And we're going to talk about that and see if we could get more information on that. The guides did come out a long time ago in one of Cindy's early channelings and say that there would be 3 major impacts that they see on the timeline right now. I don't know if that's changed or not because I haven't asked that specifically. But yeah, there was on the timeline. I want to say this was probably back in Nevada. So we're probably talking 2020-ish that we got this information that there would be 3 major impacts. I do feel one of them was somewhere off the coast of Florida, maybe off the coast of the Bahamas even. And, this is something that we're going to go deeper into and see what we can get as far as information. As you see different photos here, look at these different photos from different places of the comet, Comet 12P PONS-BROOKS, or the Draco Comet, or the Mother of All Dragons Comet. Now you're getting a little bit closer to the truth there. But not all dragons are bad. That's the thing, too. That's another distortion. We've all been lied to all our lives. That's a big takeaway. We've all been lied to all our lives. Get ready for higher gas prices. The Acal Bravo maritime oil platform in Mexico on fire. About 11 million barrels of oil about to go offline. This is in Campeche. It's been one thing after another. If it isn't energy, absolutely, it's food. We understand. I think food is their big priority. All the prophecies that we may attribute to the time right now and directly ahead speak of famine. Famine, famine, famine. And a container ship reportedly lost power in New York City harbor right before the Verrazzano-Narrows bridge. Yeah, this is a bridge we took often. And it's anchored right now. So obviously, they had some issues. There's been no big confirmation of the incident. But then again, I don't think they want to panic people. It's registered in Malta, owned and operated by a large French shipping company. Take down these bridges in New York. When you look at it too, I was looking at the earthquakes, and we were talking about the Jersey earthquakes. They are dying down now, but the thing to remember is to take from this, in my mind, I was just thinking about where this is, because again, I'm somebody that lived in Connecticut, was traveling to Ohio, the Carolinas, Florida regularly. And so we, like to avoid the traffic down through Manhattan. And so what would you do? Well, go 287 and scoot around. And where you look where these quakes are, this is at the confluence of a lot of major thoroughfares. So I do think, again, they are working on isolating us. Look to the movie that was given to us on Netflix by the Obamas. Yeah, and what did that have? That had bridges blocked off with Teslas. They want to isolate us. They're going to block us off from escape routes, so to speak, cause a lot of confusion. This is 78. This is a major thoroughfare here. And of course, we have 287 that's not far away from here as well. And then you have 80 going above. They're definitely looking to cut off our ability to move freely. Ultimately, they want to hurt us. They're trying to hurt us into pens. This is all part of it. And if we look, we've had 35 quakes. 35 quakes. And the other thing is they're almost all exactly at 5 kilometers deep. There's a few, there was a 2.5 at 9 kilometers deep. And this was 8.5 kilometers deep, a 3.8. And again, this is what they're telling us. and the original one was 4.7. All the others are listed at 5 kilometers exactly. So, is that something that is being blasted from below, as well as using energy of maybe satellites or something to influence it? When you also look at 30 days, I was drawn to the ones over here in New London because they're so close to the sub base. And then when you look at some of the distances as far as the depth, now this was 0.8 and this one was 2.3 and this one was 5 kilometers deep. There was this oddball up here in New Hampshire, 4.5 kilometers deep. And then this one in Maine was 5.2. This is 9.3. This is 5 kilometers deep. How about these in New York State? 9.7. These are all shallow, 5 kilometers deep exactly. Oh, and there was one up above Ottawa here, 3 point something. 3.3, 33. 10 kilometers deep. I don't know. I just feel the suspiciousness of it all.
Well, yeah, I didn't get a chance to vet it, but somebody said that one of the bridges was shut down because somebody was threatening to jump, but I didn't have time to dig into that. And if we look back at some of the other really large disasters, they did make up reasons why they needed to shut down certain areas, and then other things were done, and that was covered in different documentaries. And it's their playbook. It's what they do. So it's not something that I can confirm or deny, but I'm leaning more toward the confirmation that, they shut it down to assist some type of technology to create this.
And years ago, we talked about what they found in a potential new supervolcano developing under New England. The thing I would caution is, depending on what our mindset is and who we're listening to, we could grab onto that and say, okay, so, what's going to happen? What is really going on? This is just a natural 12,000 year cycle. And so we're going to have all sorts of cataclysms. This is probably due to a pole shift, et cetera, et cetera. Again, it takes responsibility away from technology that could be utilized to do all these things on a regular basis. Feel into it, just simply feel into it. What do you feel? We look at all these other things going on at the same time. Now, one thing I would put out there too, if there's a massive disaster cycle coming and there's nothing that really could be done about it, why are they trying to obviously, decrease the to use the words of Ebenezer Scrooge, the surplus population? Why are they even bothering? If there's something coming that's so natural, why are they bothering to use other means and methods to do that when nature will take care of it themselves? Just get down into your bunkers or go off planet, because we don't know where the bunkers are exactly. We don't have the codes to get into the bunkers in West Virginia, that the politicians are going to, or deep in other areas. So, again, humanity will be, left outside. Why would they even bother to go through all this elaborate ruse unless there's a bigger purpose? And what we are taking to be natural is not really natural. It's taking advantage of natural cycles to utilize it for that end game, which is, again, what they've given us. 500 million, maybe a billion, heavily sedated, easily controlled. That's all we need.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, to me, I look at it and they just don't want to clean up a huge mess. They have ways to step out from in front of the huge giant disaster, and when things are all done, they don't want to come and deal with a whole bunch of bodies and stuff. So they just have other people take care of it for other people. There's a method to their madness. And when it comes to the controllers, one thing that you can always count on is that they have a plan, and it doesn't matter. It does not matter how they reach the means to their ends. They just want to get there. There's no emotion, and I think that's what people forget. There's some very well-intended people out there with some really huge hearts. I mean, hearts so big they cannot fathom. They cannot fathom that the whole control system is there just to screw with you. They cannot think that. So therefore, it becomes they get very defensive when people start to say, hey, take a look at this belief system, take a look at this Bible, because they don't think that they can be lied to at that level. And I'm here to tell you that these beings can lie at that level, and they don't mind. They don't mind one bit. They just want to reach their goals.
So you have 40 members of Congress, including people like Nancy P., sending Biden a letter saying you got to stop supporting Israel, after the airstrike that killed those 7 WC Kitchen aid workers. It's been an atrocity the entire time, and many people are aware of the concept of false flags in order to create the conditions to give you a reason to go ahead and do something you want to do in the first place, and that's exactly what they do. So this might hit some people as weird or odd or what's going on. Change of heart. They don't have hearts. Cindy was saying they don't have hearts. No, this is all part of the plan. There's demons in there. There's demons in there. These human bodies are no longer controlled by the human spirit. They're controlled by demonic entities. And so the UK's Sunak has informed Netanyahu that the UK is considering declaring that Israel has been violating international law. This is all part of the script. This is completely part of the script. These beings, again, they don't have a conscience. They don't have conscience, I should say. And here Netanyahu says his country is a step away from victory. 6 months. 6 months ago, this all started. 6 months ago. No ceasefire without hostages return, yet they are one step away from victory. They are ending active ground invasion and are completely withdrawing, so they say, from southern Gaza. Again, I think the numbers of people that have been, whatever you want to use that term, but are no longer here on the 3D actively engaged in using their vehicles is massive. It's way more than what we've been told because, Gaza is basically flattened, and yet it feels like there's something coming that's going to be even more shocking. At least that's what I'm feeling this morning. So what are they doing if they are pulling away? Now, the obvious thing is, you're going to have politicians saying they're succumbing to pressure from the U.S. when you have people like, Nancy P. telling Biden, we got to stop this, and Sunak, Weafer, saying, okay, you got to stop. Well, this is the time that they're supposed to stop according to the script. And yet still no ceasefire without the return of the hostages. Now, who knows where the hostages really are? We can't trust anything. We've always been lied to. And, I'll troll every now and then and throw some things out there on some comments where people I know are totally still in the mainstream. And maybe there are people that debunk those things that are being spread up in the skies and say, do you realize about Operation Sea Spray? How they sprayed biologicals over San Francisco like 50 years ago and it actually killed somebody. Our own government, how about Operation Popeye, using weather control to wipe away whole villages in Vietnam, again, 50 plus years ago? Are you aware of that? Because most people aren't. You guys are, because, I never stop bringing this up and most of you guys understand completely what's going on. But the majority of people still don't get it. And there was multiple airstrikes in southern Lebanon by Israel as they're looking farther to the north. Yeah, Israel was created again by the UN, by the UN, with, of course, the Rothschilds paving the way. They were created to be a thorn in the side and to bring about WW3. And it's not just the leadership that becomes demonically possessed, because when you commit atrocities, you open that door. Go back to that thing we were reading about when they came out with the first night vision. And in Vietnam, people were putting it on, and they were terrified because they're seeing all these demonic, gross entities all over the battlefield. Yeah, they jump into people. They really do jump into people. And, they'll jump into you whether you believe in a Quran, a Bible, or the Talmud and the Torah. It doesn't matter. If you lower your frequency, if you use mind-altering drugs, if you use, pharma that is perfectly legal but does alter and lower your frequency, you become a vehicle. And this is where you can just simply randomly do one atrocity after another and think nothing of it. I mean, to me, I see glowing red in this guy's eyes. It's total demonic control.
I think it's important to also outline that these religions are created to create that dissension in human emotion. They're created to get that person to have a very large spike of anger and hate. And when that spike occurs, that's when these energies step in, and that's when you can see them. I mean, you can just see them. You reach a point in your ascension, you can start seeing these things. And I know when I was going through some things in my life, and I was also learning about how these entities just step into people, and I could see that in myself. If I got really angry, I saw, oh my gosh, these things are feeding. They are feeding. And it was the most disgusting thing. And at that point, that's when I decided, okay, you're going to have to find ways to step up and out of this pit, because they depend on the lowering of the frequency. And sometimes that even means very good, well-intended people that are just trying to take care of their families, that are running themselves ragged, that are not eating right. They're just exhausted. That's created by the system too, to get people in a downward spiral and have these entities step into that frequency. And then you can see it. You go through this and you watch it enough and you see it in enough people and you can recognize it. And that's where I think we all need to be. We all need to get to where we can see that and we can avoid that hatred. And how do you avoid the hatred? Well, you have to look to see how the control system is putting you in a spiral, or other people in a spiral. And if life calls for you to avoid that, then you avoid those people, those places, those things, and you let yourself heal. You let those cracks in your energy field, you let them heal, and you get better.
Absolutely. And here you have the Yemenis informing Iran, if there is a regional war, more than 400,000 fighters are ready to completely blockade the Red Sea and target bases of Israel, U.S., and NATO. Again, this reminds me clearly of the Arab prince inclined towards Persia. Very nearly 1 million men will invade Turkey and then move on into Europe. So that's not even really talking about, and that's a Nostradamus prophecy, that's not really talking about Israel, because I think that's in the rearview mirror, so to speak. And there's going to be multiple things going on. So we might see some sort of immediate lull, but then that's also when many prophecies say that it really blasts off. Several Filipino ships illegally gathered, so says China, in the sea area adjacent to Huten, Zhao, and the Nansha Islands in China. The Chinese Coast Guard warning them. Meanwhile, we have Chinese fishing vessels, like literally right off the coast of South America and Central America, in the thousands, fishing areas dry. But yeah, we need to start moving beyond all these borders. These borders are arbitrary. Nations are arbitrary. Nations serve a purpose like the dogmas serve a purpose. As long as somebody believes, well, this is the word of God, and it's only in this one little book over here, there's really, you're still so locked into the paradigm that you are a tool for the paradigm, for the dark control system. As long as we believe that, our country is the best country in the world, there is nothing like it, none are better, that's just ego and pride. And it's just amazing how people don't see that. It's just ego and pride when we, in reality, look at the oneness of all things. Understand that, your body can't afford to have the heart being jealous of the liver being jealous of the kidneys, because it won't function, right? If they're at war with each other, and the entirety will die. Well, that's what they do to us. They get us fighting each other, so that we do live very short, miserable lives, come back and do it all over again in their frequency. So China is going to be conducting drills Sunday in the South China Sea, and at the same time, U.S., Japan, Australia, and the Philippines are staging military drills in the disputed South China Sea. What could go wrong, right? There's so many things that could just explode at any moment. And it does feel like they are intending on exploding them starting big time in the month of April. But again, what are they waiting for? Waiting for tomorrow. And they're also waiting for the end of Ramadan. So they're waiting for the 8th and the 9th. And while I'm watching all these things unfold, in one sense, a little bit more relaxed in that I feel that the big stuff isn't going to really hit until after the eclipse. And then I'm wondering mentally, okay, so does that mean, am I going to feel a lot more tension after the eclipse? Because anything could happen at any time after that. And that is the reality. So again, root and ground, get yourself out in nature, unplug when you need to, have a daily spiritual practice. Spiritual, it doesn't have to be religious. Again, it doesn't have to involve any dogma. Just simply try to pull your frequencies higher by letting go of those energies. Again, emotions are energy in motion, and that is something that Cindy has brought up time and time again for us to understand.
Well, yeah, because you're constantly moving, you're constantly changing. We're like a really heavy, dense form of plasma. And I learned a lot about that when I got into sound healing, biofield tuning, understanding that the energy body, if you can correct the energy body, you can correct a lot of things in that physical body. And they don't teach us a lot about that fourth state of matter, plasma. And it's always in motion, and your emotions dictate how that motion goes. So energy in motion is very important. And once you start to see that, you can see how your energy is changing in your mind's eye. You can see, where are your emotions locked up? Is that creating a problem in the physical body? So many times it really, really is. And we have to take care of our physical bodies and work with ourselves, because we tend to trap old emotions inside the fascia, inside the skin. Sometimes, a lot of the time, inside the liver. And if you're able to diffuse some kind of coiling anger inside the liver, you'll have a little bit of a purge. And some people talk about that as a crisis cleansing, because you're going to be kind of releasing in different ways, whether it be, going to the John a lot, whether you might be nauseous. If you are able to diffuse that anger, it's going to help you tremendously. And this is always kind of actively working, actively changing. Your cells are always doing something. You're vibrating at a frequency. You kind of have a song going on. So if we're not in this dimension, you can actually hear yourself in another dimension. But our ears aren't really made to hear that in this dimension. But we can definitely use our other senses to understand that.
Yeah, and in reality, the other senses are stronger and have more potential when you're fully developed. And, that's really, that's the real state. This is the temporary state. So people will sometimes put out, and because they don't understand where we're coming from, but what if you are killed? What if, bad guys come and stuff? Well, again, totally know. We know that if we're removed from these bodies, these vehicles, we go on. And we understand that the only way the system really wins, if that's the case, is if they have us in a lower frequency range where they can try to control us when that happens. And that's why they have nonstop wars, nonstop catastrophe, nonstop things that can cause fear. But when you understand that your consciousness is not dependent on your body, there's no more fear. I mean, sure, nobody wants to suffer, and there's really no need for the situation we see ongoing on the planet with all the suffering going on and the hypocritical nature of it. As you see this tweet above, the tweet from Matthew Miller, who's the official State Department spokesperson, saying, "We encourage our partners Mexico and Ecuador to resolve their differences in accordance with international norms, and they condemn any violation of the Vienna Convention." And this is what all the politicians are. There's no politician that's not hypocritical. I really don't think there is, because to get into the positions where they are, they have to, unfortunately, lie. The system makes them lie. And the system only promotes those that are controllable. That's the thing we should understand. There's dirt on every one of them at the top level. And yes, everybody commits quote-unquote sins at some point in time. And somebody had said, what do you feel about repentance? And in the comments in one video. And I think, that's something for people that are still kind of coming into their own and understanding the bigger picture, and the fact that, basic concepts of right and wrong and basic understanding about who and what we are. As soon as you understand that we are eternal spiritual beings, everything shifts. And naturally, you want to kind of create a more harmonious environment. And while you might want to create nice things in your life and have certain goals you want to achieve, you won't really consciously overstep certain bounds. And thus, you're not focused on repentance because you're not out there trying to screw everybody every day. Plain and simple. You come up and you wake up with the purpose in mind that, how can I better myself today? And then doing that, become a better person in bettering ourselves and help others to better themselves. And that becomes your prime focus. You're no longer focused on all the wrongs and everything you're constantly doing wrong. See, what they do is they create this guilt complex, and we focus on the guilt and we focus on our shortcomings. And then we're not even thinking about necessarily, what can I do today to bring a little bit more sunshine into other people's lives? How can I awaken other people to the reality that we are already eternal beings? We don't need anybody to, give us any rituals to do to become an eternal being. That's what we are by nature. That's what consciousness is. The only thing you can do is give your authority and your own will to self-governance away.
When I was still kind of in the matrix and I was trying to develop a solid connection to organized religion and the Bible, I would walk into Bible study and I would hear somebody blurt out, "I'm just a sinner. I'm just a horrible sinner." And I would pause, and that really made me sad because I would look at that person. I'm like, you're a nice person. Why would you degrade yourself like that? It's like you do the best you can with what you got, and sometimes you make mistakes, but you're not set out to deliberately harm other people. And it's like that's what they make us want to feel, that we are just out to do wrong, that just by being born we are somehow less than, we are somehow behind the eight ball just by being born. But you know what? When we are born out of pure love, true love, we're not here to be pure love, true love. We're here to learn how to do things differently. You know, you want to say sinning is missing the mark. Well, you're not supposed to be here to hit the mark. You're supposed to be here to explore and expand. And sometimes with expansion, things can get a little messy. But once you do, Mike says you reach that certain point where you're like, oh, okay, well, I get it now. You know, I'm just a little more conscious. Sometimes people just can't see what they're doing. And I don't think it helps anybody or does anyone any favors to holler out that you're a sinner. You know, you're a human. You're trying to do things to the best of your ability. Unfortunately, some people get so tied into the religious system, they have to attach themselves to it and pull themselves down. And I don't think that helps with expansion.
No, not at all. It's narcissistic abuse is what it is. It's gaslighting in the biggest sense. We can understand that in those more modern terms, but this is what the system does. It basically tells you you're worthless and you need it. And they want you to believe that, but we don't need the system. The system is worthless besides learning what not to do, learning not how to feel, and learning, what not to believe. And here you see thousands of people witnessing a spectacular jellyfish or sperm vapor. Okay, that's really a weird way to put it. But this is SpaceX again, yet again. And, now we just blame everything on Elon. Oh, what's that? I don't know. It's got to be one of Elon's. It's got to be SpaceX. It's got to be the Starlink satellites. This is going to be, at some point in time, one of the only official ways anything is in the air, is if it's one of Elon's. And we were touching on yesterday the fact that he said some weird things. He brings up Escape from New York and says this is a really good documentary, and then talks about hell on earth with the firing up of rockets. Yeah, if you really watch Elon carefully, and I don't even think for somebody that's awake it takes too much careful, you could see he's totally telegraphing them. He is the voice of the Gigi Anunnaki on a level. And here you have Hillary and, people are awakening to a new degree. And as Cindy said years ago, by the end of this year, 2025, see, it's not like everybody's going to be gone with WW3. They want to give you the idea that it's going to be nuclear winter. There's no life left on the planet. Again, everything that the system will give you is a distortion. So if we're basing our belief set on information that's ultimately coming from the system, it's going to be distorted with their purpose. So they want to create this feeling of hopelessness, and this is nothing but swears, as you could kind of tell. These people will not be out in public, and there will be people still in the cities. There will be in some cities, again, some cities are going to be devastated by 2025. And, there's going to be a lot of areas, I think, that are going to be off limits to humans. And as we were saying, humans won't be flying soon like we are now. They want to limit our mobility. First, they got to limit our mobility so they can gather and herd us. But the real controllers, and their puppets could absolutely, if you look at Ezekiel 39, it makes you feel that they are ready, willing, and able to sacrifice their puppets. Will we get every single one of these body doubles, actors, and clones to know, that there's none of them around anymore, that's not somewhere secure, or however you want to look at it? Probably not, but we're going to all be dealing with our own issues that we have to overcome and again, providing food for ourselves, working together with ourselves. We're blessed to have one of our dearest friends with us in the relative neighborhood now. So we're taking her around and introducing her to people that, again, these are connections. This is where we can get this. This is where we can get that. Again, don't have to go to a store because these people, are doing their own farming, their own dairy herds, cattle ranches, eggs, etc., etc. So we have to start to work outside the system, because they are going to continue to make things tougher on us. And here you see, DHS, you have a plane with over 40 fighting age males who come off a bus with folders to fly from Central America to Canada, given manila folders with passports with Canadian insignia. They're given their documents. They are completely legit in an illegit system. This is why, because, again, Trudeau's, the Clintons, the Sunaks, it goes on and on. None of them will dare show their face in public in the future. They won't be able to get enough bodyguards to keep them safe. This is because it is going to be revealed. But I do think, too, they are all, unfortunately for them, if maybe they've been deluded, they're all very expendable. They're not even really middle management.
Mm-hmm. I have a very, very dear friend who was sad because she's just trying not to step anymore into the system. She's working with people out of the system, but she had to download like Cash App and another one of those, maybe it was Zelle, I forget, but she was sad. She didn't want to go more into technology. But I explained to her, this is your opportunity to expand doing things differently out into the system. So I believe there's a way to expand our energy into the system and kind of break those barriers that they set up for us, because now she's going to be able to sell better food to people. She makes her own medicine. She'll be able to sell medicines to more people, and then they won't be going down to the local Walgreens and picking up something for allergies, because she can make it herself. So I'm kind of looking at it as, the system stinks, but how can you expand your new way of living into the system, so we are not supporting the system necessarily, but we are helping people find ways out of it. I hope that makes sense. And right now we have dandelions on the screen. I just love dandelions. They're known to be the sun, the moon, and the stars. They're like a universal flower, because as it is, you can see on the screen, it's the sun. And then it turns into a pretty white globe, which is the moon. And when it blows away, those are the stars. So the dandelion is just so wonderful and beautiful, and it's so extremely medicinal. I think they used it on the Roundup containers as their poster child, and kind of a kick in the teeth to us, saying, we're going to take all your medicine away. We are going to just kill everything that you call a weed that's medicinal, and this is going to be your system. And I think that's really, really sad. And I think there's a way to turn this around by using their very own tools. Like right now, we are using the internet to reach you guys and put different ideas in your head and help you understand that there is a different way to live. We don't have to live by the rules that they set out to us.
No, again, this is how the system works. They give you this picture of the perfect yard, and Mr. Smith looks at Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones's yard is just this beautiful, thick, lush green field, and he's walking around barefoot. Life is happy, yet they don't tell you that he's going to develop cancer and die because he was spreading these toxins the whole time. We bought this property, which had sat empty for a few years. But I know they were using things like Roundup on some of it at points in times. The neighbor uses Roundup. But we saw this year, like last year when we got, the grass there was no weeds, right? This year now there's weeds, and we're happy. We love the weeds. Bring the weeds on, because we're intentionally not cutting some areas with the weeds on for the bees and for nature to utilize. Because they're not weeds. It's the opposite. The system always gives us the opposite. The grass is really, even though it might feel good or whatever, that's a little bit more the true weed. The dandelions are a medicine and a food. I mean, they're loaded with these are things that should be cultivated. They can help us in so many ways. And this is exactly what the system does. It gets you to spread the Roundup, poison yourself, head off to the doctor, and we know what the outcome is when we go that route. It's not good. It's not good. And we could extend this for that word. We've all been lied to, and it's not just that. You can extend that out into people that follow still the paradigm, the religious paradigm of the control system. And some people are really waking up. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of posts out there that really sound like the same things I've been saying for a long time, where it's really through the Abrahamic system that they've utilized their main control method in this particular cycle. In a different cycle, it could be different beings that are utilized, and yet you will find that there's remnants of other cycles still here on the planet. Humanity's getting its training wheels. We're learning because we're just like this little one. And Mama could be akin to, say, the beings of the real Galactic Federation, and be wary with that, because that's part of the next big deception. If you see beings that look very, very solid, and they are saying that they are part of the Galactic Federation, they're not. Because really the Galactic Federation is on a higher density than this, and you're not going to be able to see them with your physical, visible eyes on a regular basis as solid, visible beings in this time period. Again, it takes time to transition through the ages. It takes time for humanity to awaken. So while some people will see them, and you might see them more as energy forms, they're going to be showing the controllers and those that work underneath the controllers. There's many different extraterrestrial beings in play. There's too many to list. Again, in the Hindu scriptures, it talks about hundreds of thousands of humanoid beings that exist in our galaxy alone. This is just common knowledge when we're in a Bronze Age, and we're getting our feet wet in a Bronze Age. So we're going to come to that understanding and realization, and we won't be stunned when we see beings that are very, very different than us in the future. Though when it first happens, there will be people running for the hills.
Mm-hmm. I'm just watching these guys play and enjoy each other, and play chase, and this little guy is brand new to the earth, and he's realizing how fun this is. Oh my gosh, how fun this is. And what's beautiful about it is he's going to go through his life experiencing expansion, and he's only going to kind of teach himself what he can and can't do. Unlike this world we live in, I mean, we're thrown in school right away, and they start teaching us about expansion and what we cannot do, and what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. But these animals, they are definitely they're a notch above us, because they go through expansion. They teach themselves, okay, how fast can I go? Oh, if I go that fast, I'm going to fall down. And to me, that's how life should be. We should be able to expand into the world and see how great we can be, and not be told that we are sinners, we are nothings, we are, annoyances to the world. That's not true. The control system set that up. That's a man-made idea.
Yeah, and I just want to share one last thing. We again view that consciousness is the reality behind all forms. And so when you see these beings, the control system's belief set will tell you that they are a notch below humans' consciousness. But the reality is that in beings that we call animals and birds even, there are consciousnesses that are akin to great angelic beings of very, very high frequency, that are sending a portion of their consciousness into an animal form in order to just be around us, guide us, send us messages, and help in a little bit more physical, tangible way.
Indeed. I hope you guys got something good out of this. Source bless, and namaste.
Namaste.